Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's State of the Market update. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. We're coming out of a slower time for freight over the last few days. Fortunately, I think a lot of shippers got in front of things from their end, so they were able to pre-book a lot of loads. We saw tender lead times spike right before the holiday. We saw some volume spike right before the holiday, kind of indicating that people were really trying to get in front of some work when they got back into the office. Now, capacity did decline last week, as we talked about, due to the fact that drivers take the week off, or they start heading for home. They're less available to take the loads. There's just a general reduction of short-term capacity in the marketplace. This week, typically we see a slow, gradual return to a more normal scenario for the next week or two. Volumes don't necessarily tend to spike. Capacity comes back into the marketplace after a kind of a quick hit of no availability. And that's kind of what we're seeing now. But first, what I wanted to bring up is we've got the map, and in our immediate future, we've got the weather concerns. You see these two big blobs of weather. For those of you that are in SONAR, you should know by now that we do have this overlay in the radar where you can see the weather impact over the top of our map. Right now, this is Bruce right here that's sitting over the New England area. Now, this is it's nothing new to New England, but it is always useful to note that anytime these things kind of sit there and spin for a long period of time, these guys are great at clearing the roads, and anybody that's operating up there obviously knows what they're doing and how to deal with this. But the longer that this thing spins, for those of you in the transportation markets that don't, have a good feel, these things can pile up. And over time, trucks get stuck in these areas, in these markets. So I would expect some kind of short-term inbound tender rejections to increase over a period of time. Carriers for sure watch out. You don't want to get stuck in the New England area any more than you already do. But this system is scheduled to move out over the next couple of days. Again, nothing new for this time of year. It is a little bit of an early storm, but still nothing new for these guys up there. So over the next few days, watch out for the New England markets. And then over here, we have our next system. I'm not sure if they've named it yet or not. I don't know if it matters. But this is going to be a big one. It's going to dump a bunch of snow over the west. All the mountains up here are going to get several inches to several feet, depending on the elevation. Obviously, drivers be aware of that, chains and such. I'm sure you already know that. And you can see this dark blue underneath this impending weather. And this is the Twin Falls, Idaho market. And the last couple of weeks, this guy has been a lot of trouble. And this is Pendleton, Oregon, right next to it. These are not the big markets that we're used to dealing with in Portland and Seattle. Seattle and Portland are doing okay. I should say Seattle's doing just fine. Portland's doing meh, just a little bit. It's in line with, in between Seattle and Twin Falls. But Twin Falls is having some serious trouble finding any trucks to kind of pull any freight out of this area. Now, that's not terribly unexpected, but at the same time, these are the type of opportunities that carriers and brokers should be considering as we look at the OTRI Twin Falls market. And then I'm also going to pull up the OTRI Twin Falls to, let's say, San Francisco, which is a decent lane. And you see the tender rejections are also going up out of, into San Francisco. Again, not a huge market. But again, big enough. You can see that it actually is a kind of an anomaly to see tender rejections spike up this much. Now, maybe not for this time of year, but still, as these systems come through and everything, and you can time your trucks in and out of these markets in between storms and systems, there's money to be made, especially for brokers and carriers that are willing to take a decent risk in this area. They have had trouble over the last couple of days, and you can see that it actually is quite a significant amount of trouble. And then you go in here and you can find different markets that they're having trouble covering that are available. Grand Junction, Colorado, for instance, again, huge problem covering that freight. There's also been a problem covering the stuff to San Francisco, and I'm sure you can find many others in there. But that's just one market that we're seeing having consistent issue over the last few weeks. Other than that, the overall market itself, like I said before, is going to have a little bit more stable pattern. You can see tender rejection starting to come down out of the holiday. We expect that to happen. It'll probably happen, throughout the week as shippers are going to take a little bit more time to kind of get back into the office, and production has to come back online and produce stuff. So there's nothing to ship for the near term. I'm sure they need to go through some early evaluations, Black Friday and whatnot. And then here in a few weeks, we'll probably see another big spike right before the Christmas holiday. So hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you again next week. Thanks.